Shout out Jim. Leave me. You gotta take me in the middle. This Jake. Hello? Alright. Wow. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Glock in the vest. Hustle like I'm Meta World. I mean Ron Artest. Bobby Lash, Ron Coleman. Watch me flick.
All right, today we have a very special guest, a former rugby player from St. Mary's College of California. He graduated last year in the spring of 2024. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about his experience, maybe what drew him to the program and how it helped lead him to what he's doing now. Could you tell us a bit about who you are and how you found yourself playing college rugby at St. Mary's?
Yeah, thanks, Forrest. My name is Zach Allen. I grew up in Dixon, California. I'm 30 years old now. I started with St. Mary's in 2019 at 26 years old. And a little bit, just an intro about how I got into the program was I wanted to go back to school after a stretch of alcoholism that I went through. And so I always had it in the back of my mind that I'd like to play rugby again. I just didn't have the faculties to put it all together until now.
That's fascinating. So did you initially choose to just hop in rugby into the collegiate level, or did you have a background in that beforehand?
I had played in high school a little bit, or a little more than a little bit. I played from 7th grade until about 12th grade. There was a couple times where I got kicked off the team for various things, so on and so forth. But yeah, I hadn't had any experience with collegiate sports, and I hadn't even really planned on playing rugby when I applied to St. Mary's, and when I got in, it just everything kind of came together.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to just disregard what you said about what you were going through at the time before entering college athletics. Do you think that some of the challenges you were facing in your life around that time might have led you to finding that outlet specifically? Is that something you felt that you had a drive for, or you needed to find something?
Yeah, definitely. I was definitely looking for something. I had a newborn child coming in. I think April, my daughter, she's 6 now, but when I was getting back into school, she was 1.5, 2 years old. Things weren't going very well with the baby's mom, so I definitely was looking for an outlet. And I think something extreme as well. There was rugby, and then on the other side of things, I was looking into military and Air Force and whatnot. So it was definitely a stressful time in my life, and I wanted to push myself and kind of get out of my head.
Yeah, definitely. It's incredible that you were able to find such a great outlet, and I'm sure community. It's not often we get to hear guys like yourself tell their stories about how they found themselves in these positions, just because it's less prevalent, right? Most guys are in the program, they're coming straight out of high school,
Mm-hmm.
going into college sports, and they might be there for the community, or they might be there trying to make it to the MLR and play at a more competitive competitive professional level.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying it was different for you.
Yeah, 100%. It was completely different for me, and I think the thing that drove me most to St. Mary's rugby was that there was an aspect of, and still is an aspect to this day of this program, of acceptance for anybody to come into the program and push themselves for their own why. And we talked about it at the very beginning of the program. What is your why? Why are you there? And that can mean a lot of things. It can mean who you're doing it for. For me personally, I was doing it for myself and my daughter, which I didn't think, and we'll get into that a bit later. But now looking back on it, I realized that it was one of the biggest things I could have done for my daughter April as well as myself.
To back up a little bit, are you saying that some of the principles that you were able to acquire or learn through the rugby program contributed to certain challenges you were experiencing in your own personal life?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a reason why collegiate sports are so hard, is because they make you look inward and they push yourself to physical extremes and emotional extremes. And also, like, it just gives you a lot of mental fortitude. And I think that's probably the number one thing that it gave me, was mental fortitude. I think that coming in, I had no idea what to expect. It was just something that I wanted to do to get out of myself because I was struggling a lot. And realized through these past 4 years that it's something that changed my life for the better in all facets of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible to be able to find an outlet like that helps you on all levels, keeping you busy, keeping you out of your head, and then instilling principles of discipline and all these other things that can be directly translated to what you got going on elsewhere.
100%.
I think I'd be curious, looking at the evolution or your perceived evolution of your time at St. Mary's Rugby, maybe looking at how you felt coming into the program and what we've touched on a lot of the personal and physical challenges that you were going on beforehand, but I'd be curious to see what you were mentally struggling with when you first integrated into the rugby program, and maybe how your mindset evolved throughout the time.
Yeah.
Throughout your time playing there. Like what initial challenges did you have coming in, and how did you work through those?
Yeah, 100%. I can break it down, and please keep me on topic if I stray. But I think the easiest way for me to break it down is between my 4 years. The first year was a lot of drinking out of a fire hose. I mean, my system was shocked because I hadn't been anywhere near sports in general, let alone like a highly esteemed program such as St. Mary's. And so my first day there, first year, I showed up and I'm around some of the best rugby players in the world. I mean, the two guys that I remember specifically are playing in the MLR right now.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, St. Mary's is one of the top competitors in college rugby. I mean, you guys are competing often for the first and second spot.
Yeah,
in the nation.
Yeah. So that was big for me. I felt I felt physically small, and I felt small in the sense that I was so far from some of the guys that were there as far as rugby skills, and the one thing that I did have going for me was my cardio. Like I had run a lot before, so that was big for me. I felt like I could move fast and pick up things quickly, but I think the number one thing that lifted my confidence up was my ability to just endure, and that's so much of what rugby is. It's very blue collar in that way, and it's just all about work ethic. So if you're putting in the work, people respect you. So first year it was a lot of that. I had a lot of guys on that team that really, really showed a lot of interest in what I was doing, and a lot of respect for what I was doing. And I guess as it progressed, things changed in my life. Got a divorce, started the process of having a divorce. So that crushed me a bit. I kind of delved deeper into rugby. So that was a mental battle for me as well, because I put a lot more importance on rugby, and was comparing myself to the guys a lot more. And then third year, this is all very high level, but third year I started really understanding what was important, which was my daughter, and took a step back from rugby. I had a talk with my coach about my role in the program and what I wanted, and I think I took a little bit of a step back as far as my as far as how much I was going to be doing for the program, and that talk couldn't have gone better. I mean, it was nothing but respect and support. And then the fourth year, I'd say, was just like my fun year. Like I just wanted to have fun and enjoy the experience. And so that was probably like the best year for me.
Man, you really touched on a lot of things there. That I mean, I was planning on asking you about how it was managing fatherhood in college athletics, because I know it is like a full-time job, right? So it's awesome you were able to have a relationship with your coach, an understanding relationship where he was able to give you the time you needed for your daughter as well. There's one thing you said about your first year at St. Mary's Rugby, coming in and evaluating your skills compared to the skills of some of the top players there, right? Mm-hmm. But then saying that your work ethic and other things that you had going on were, I guess, respected or looked up to by other guys on the team. Could you talk a little bit more about that and what you meant by other guys on the team saw and recognized what you were doing and respected you for that, or looked up to you for that?
Yeah, I can definitely touch on that. I think for me and for a lot of the guys there, we talked about the why and where they're at, and I think a big part of it for me was acceptance. I was trying to find a role as soon as I stepped into the program. I had my own preconceived notions about what that was going to be, and then once I got there, I think I realized that my own personal role wasn't necessarily going to be the same as everybody else's, and I had very, very little time to, I guess, not very, very little time, but I had a lot less time to put into my craft than most guys did. So I don't know if this necessarily answers your question, but I think what I reminded myself from that time was always that, like, what I get out of the program isn't necessarily going to be the same thing as what everybody else gets out of the program, because my life is different.
Right. 100%.
So I don't know if that answered your questions, or maybe you could reword it so you can remind me, because I kind of forgot.
Yeah, no worries. You said something about how other guys recognized what you were doing.
Yeah, and skill level as well was part of that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think I'd also be curious at looking at, we've talked a lot about how rugby has influenced your job as being a father.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say, or maybe how has being a father influenced your role in your job as a rugby player?
Okay. Yeah, I think I can answer that. So I think, I was 10 years senior to a lot of the guys, and the gap just got bigger as I grew up more in the program too. I mean, I was 26 when I started, and some of the guys were in their early 20s, so it wasn't that big. But by the time I was a senior, I was 10 years older than some of the guys. I graduated when I was 29, and some kids coming in are 19, 20 years old. So I definitely very much looked at them as kids, but I think my role as a father, and especially having a daughter, is seeing the bigger picture of what it means to to grow and put self-importance on yourself. So I think that was a big thing for me that I saw in a lot of the guys, because everybody struggles with this idea of who they want to be. They want to be better. They want to be better than the next guy. So I think I would like to think that I helped a lot of people have fun, and not take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a lot of the times my goal for my daughter, and it went both ways. I mean, sometimes I would leave practice and be miserable, and then go see my kid and realize that, you know, it's not necessarily about it's not so much about your accolades as it is what you're doing in the day-to-day.
Yeah, and that's huge, because you understand that time you get as a college athlete is limited.
Yes.
And it's even more so limited by spontaneous injury. Yes. And whatever else that comes up in life. And at the end of the day, you got to enjoy where you're at.
Exactly.
When you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely, I see what you're saying. You bring a completely different perspective to the table to offer these guys that you're playing with. And also just like a different way of being a mentor and a role model, it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got guys who are there for competitive reasons, and guys might look up to them for their skill and whatnot, but maybe they don't have the same outlook as you about how you should be conducting yourself as a young man in the sport, or how you should handle issues or conflicts, or maybe, like you said, about having fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I mean, and I can sit here and say that, say all those things now, and in a perfect world, that's who I hope I left as, that person. But also, you know, I did struggle a lot with having an idea of where I wanted to be in the program, and not and just not accepting it. I think for me personally, the struggle was always, I want to be able to put 100% of myself into rugby while I'm here, and I could never do that. Because of my other roles as a father, and going through a divorce, and managing drama between family and all that kind of stuff. So I did fall short a lot, as far as like mental fortitude and my own selfish desires. That was definitely a struggle for me, for sure. Like, I always wanted to be, obviously, like, everybody wants to be the best.
Yeah. That's such a tough point you bring up. That's not on the forefront of most of our minds, right? Because at the end of the day, everyone's got that competitiveness.
Yeah.
Especially if you're involved in a sport like rugby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds extremely hard to balance, as if you're being pulled in either direction.
Mm-hmm.
How did you go about navigating that and finding yourself somewhere in a happy medium, or were you unable to become satisfied with your balance of those two things?
I think I was very, 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 I was very satisfied after my first year in rugby, because I think I had a tremendous amount of joy for the sport in the first year, and a lot of hope about what I could accomplish in the program. And then year two, I struggled a lot with being in a place that I wanted to be. It was really hard for me. In year two, I had a lot of issues with accepting where I was at. And then year three, I think I kind of hit a bottom where I was like, this isn't where I want to be, and I'm not doing what I need to do as a father, because I've put so much into rugby, year 2 and over the summer as well. So that was when I took a step back and accepted my role more as a father. And then in year 4, I think was probably, like I said, my best year, because I had fully accepted and learned a lot about the program and what it really means, not necessarily how good you are, or
What do you mean by what it really means?
well, I think it's just so much more than rugby. The St. Mary's rugby program is bigger than rugby. It's about the people that you meet, the people that you suffer with, and showing up every single day, and being with those people. I think I finally learned what a team was in year 4, which really, really helped me, because I think, and this even goes back to high school. I think a lot of the reasons that I suffered from alcoholism and drank and stuff like that was because I didn't know what it meant to be selfless. And I think in a team environment, you have to be selfless. You have to care for your teammates and not think about yourself for the betterment of the entity.
Yeah, it's a lot different from other sports where people are in extreme competition with each other to beat the other for that starting position. Whereas
Exactly.
if your teammate's not putting their body on the line for you in rugby, the whole team will not succeed.
Exactly. I mean, I can think of a million different scenarios where things kind of started clicking for me in that way. But one thing in particular is just when we get on the line and everybody's tired, we're suffering, it's cold, it's wet, and everybody else is essentially done running, and there's that one guy that is just not doing well. He's not gonna cross, and the biggest thing that I saw day in and day out was like, we help that guy get across the line, and we're gonna help him stay in the program. It's not like, oh, this dude sucks, he's too fat, he's too big, he's not gonna do anything, we just toss him away. Like, that never fucking happens at St. Mary's Rugby.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. What did it feel like, that experience for you of realizing what a team was and transitioning to putting yourself out there in a vulnerable position for the sake of other people, for the betterment of other people? Or maybe to sort of close us off, how did those things that you've mentioned, that you've learned, help you transition out of college life and college athletics and into the workforce? And would you say that the things you've learned are valuable enough that you'd want your daughter to one day have a similar experience?
Yeah, I would love my daughter to have a similar, if not the same exact experience in a team as the St. Mary's Rugby team, because of everything I've been able to carry with me. It's literally been everything. Like, my new career is very much team oriented, and I think that's why I find myself being successful there. I look at my family unit as a team, and one thing that's huge about being in a team is communication, and communication is key, and it's literally been everything for me. I mean, it's transitioned in every single aspect to me for life. So I couldn't say more good things about the program and being on that team.
Well, it was incredible having you on. Incredible story. It's something you just wouldn't hear from many other people in your position. that got to participate at that level of athletics. And I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing your story. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.